Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are good. So today we will be talking about some more NUST NT test past paper questions from the math section, specifically from the 17th chapter, that is integration. So let's get started. Before talking about the past paper questions, we'll be having a quick overview about the contents that we need to cover for this chapter. Okay. Now, first of all, we have two things, definite integral and indefinite integral, right? So the only difference in definite and indefinite integral is that in indefinite integrals, you don't have any numbers here, you don't have any limits. And in definite integrals, these numbers, these limits are given. So obviously that would make a difference. In case of indefinite integrals, you would be getting the answer in terms of x. But in case of definite integral, you will be getting a proper answer. All right. Okay, so let's see how to integrate. How do we integrate? Now you have x to the power n, and in order to integrate it, what do? We need to add 1 to the power and we divide it by the new power. For example, if the old power was n, you do n plus 1 for the new power and then you have to divide it by the new power, unlike differentiation. And this constant is mandatory. In case of indefinite integral, you are always supposed to add this constant because this would give you the correct answer. But in case of definite integral, where we'll be having limits, you don't add any constant. So now we are clear about the basic concepts of integration, which I'm pretty sure you guys would be knowing already. But just for the sake of completeness, I'm talking about these. Okay, then we can have other forms as well. For example, let's say you have a constant a that is being multiplied to the variable. So how do you do? Everything is same, x to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. This constant is just coming as it is. Since it is a constant, so we won't be integrating it, we won't be doing anything with it in particular. That would come as it is. Okay, now here you only have a constant, right? This constant was being multiplied with a variable. Here you only have a constant that might be added or subtracted with some variable. How do you integrate in that case? Again, the concept is same. Imagine you have a written this way, that you have x to the power 0. So now x is with power 0. What do? We add 1 to the old power. So this would be 0 plus 1 divided by 0 plus 1. Now in this case, this would give you ax, right? So whatever the question is, these rules are going to be used as it is and nothing is going to change. Even if you have a simple constant, even if x is not there, you'll think about it as if you have x to the power 0, and that is going to give you the answer. All right. Okay. Now let's talk about the third type. In this third type, it is important. You have ax plus b. A and b are some constants, and n is basically a number written in the power. So how do you integrate in this case? Okay. One way could be, if n is 1 or if n is 2, or let's say if n is 3, you can just expand it and then you can integrate it simply. But obviously, even if n is 3, 4, or for higher powers of n, this would not be easy, right? So we are going to follow this fixed method for this case. You write down ax plus b as it is, just like we were writing down x as it is. You add 1 to the old power, just like we were doing it in case of simple x. You divide it by the new power, that is n plus 1. And what is this a? This a is basically the derivative of this bracket. You can have anything inside this bracket, so the derivative can be anything. So it may not be this a, it could be anything, right? So now we know whenever we have a bracket and then we have a power and you've been asked to integrate it, the bracket stays as it is. You add 1 to the old power, you divide it by new power, and you divide it by the derivative of the bracket. Okay, so this would be your answer. And since all of these are indefinite integrals, because we do not have the limits, this c, this c, this c is going to come as it is. Okay, so nothing is changing about the basic rules of integration. All right. Okay, so you need to memorize all of this. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that these would be on your fingertips because these are very easy. But Otherwise, if you are not familiar with these or anything, please guys, this is mandatory. You need to memorize these because in NET, unlike the Cambridge system, the data booklet and all of that would not be given, right? Okay. Now we have some more rules. Okay, this one is clear. X to the power n would give you x to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1 plus c. C is the constant. Let's say now you have x to the power minus 1. This rule does not hold for n equals minus 1. Okay, this rule does not hold for n equals minus 1. So whenever you have x to the power minus 1, this is how you integrate. Natural log of x plus c. Always remember, this rule would be valid for any value of n, 2, 3, 4, 5, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, so on. But if your n is minus 1, just imagine if you will have minus 1 here, it would give you minus 1 plus 1 would give you 0. You won't be having the variable would be lost through this method. So we have another method of integration. Whenever we have x to the power minus 1, we do natural log of x plus c. Okay. Then for exponential, if you have e to the power x, e to the power x comes as it is plus c. That is simple. Then if you have ax comes as it is divided by ln of a, right? So even here we divided by ln of e, but we know ln of e gives 1. That is why it did not make any difference. So this is important because some students are not familiar with these. A to the power x would give you e to the power x divided by ln a plus c. Alright, now if you have something be multiplied with your function, you can write it outside. I've just told you that won't make any difference, right? Okay. Now, this rule is not that important, but let's say if you have been asked to integrate mod of x, so how do you do it? X multiplied by mod of x divided by 2 plus c, right? This won't be used, but just for the sake of completeness, we should know this one as well. Right, last but not the least, we have sum and difference formulas. So imagine you have f of x plus g of x. You have two different functions, they are being added, and you have been asked to integrate the entire thing. You will integrate this first part separately, you will integrate the second part separately. Similarly, now you have two functions and they are being subtracted. You are going to integrate them separately and add this minus sign, right? So that would give you the correct integral. All right. So far we have discussed indefinite integrals of different types, and the most important one is obviously this one, this one. And then I'm pretty sure you guys would be comfortable with constant multiples and sums and differences formula. This is how we integrate it. Okay. All right, okay, let's talk about one example and then we'll directly switch to past paper questions. Let's say you have a function x to the power 4 plus 3x minus 9, and you need to integrate it with respect to x. Now, what is happening? You have three different functions and they're being added and subtracted. So you can integrate all of them separately, right? Using this and this formula. X to the power 4 would become this 4 would become 5 and you'll divide it by 5. This 1 would become 2, you'll divide it by 2. This 3 is a constant, so it would be coming as it is. And 9 is a constant number, so 9 would become 9x. And then c is something that you know you need to add because this is an indefinite integral, right? So this was a simple example. This is how we integrate these questions. In case of any queries, any questions, so stop me right now, I'll answer you directly. If not, then we can talk about the past paper questions. I'll stay quiet for a few seconds. Just comment in the chat box or in the comment box if you need any help with this. Okay, all right. Let's talk about the questions now. All right, this is the very first question. Let's see how to do it. Now it says, what is the integration of 1 by x squared with respect to x? It is 1 by x squared. When we say 1 by x squared, it is simple. I can think about it as integration of x to the power minus 2 with respect to x. Now this number is not minus 1, but it is something other than minus 1, right? So I have my fixed rule that I will add 1 to it and I will divide it by new power. So what would be happening here? I would add 1 to minus 2 and I'll divide it by the new power. Minus 2 plus 1 would become minus 1 plus c. Yes, the constant is not there, but that is okay. We need to choose out of these four options. So this can be written as this, right? This would be a negative power, so I can take x in the denominator, and the answer is going to be C in this case. Ideally, obviously, you need to add constant, but since in NET you would be answering MCQ, so it is completely fine if um, you guys are not given with this option. You need to choose the best possible option, right? Okay, let's talk about the second question. Now, what is happening here? We have a function g of x. It is being integrated and then it is being differentiated. So what is happening now? We know that differentiation and integration are opposites of each other. If you have a function, if you integrate it and if you differentiate it, then you would get the original function, you would get this function again, right? So the answer is going to be A in this case. Think about it as if you have a number x, you're multiplying 2 and then you are dividing 2. 2 and 2 would be cancelled, so you would get this number directly. Same is happening. Differentiation and integration are opposites of each other, so you would get the function inside directly, right? Okay, let's talk about the next question. Okay, this is very interesting and important as well. We need to understand. Okay, now you need to integrate x plus 4 divided by x plus 3. Now this is something which we are not sure about because we have not studied any method about this type of integration in the overview, but it is okay. We have some past knowledge as well. Okay, all right, now I am not sure if I can integrate it directly or not. This is something which is making me think that I can use the natural log thing, and all the options have natural log, but I can only use this natural log thing if in the numerator I have the derivative of the denominator. I repeat, I can use natural log of x plus 3 if and only if in the numerator I have the derivative of this function, which is not the case. I have x plus 4. X plus 4 is not the derivative of the denominator. So I'll write it down again in some way that things become easy for me. Can I write x plus 4 as x plus 3 plus 1, and this thing divided by x plus 3 with respect to x? So this can be considered as one unit, and this one can be thought about as something different. And now I can split it up: x plus 3 divided by x plus 3 plus 1 divided by x plus 3 with respect to x. This and this can be cancelled and it is going to give me a 1. So I need to integrate 1 plus 1 by x plus 3 with respect to x. Now this is very easy for me. Now this 1 can be integrated and I would get x directly, right? So when I will integrate this one, I would get this x. And what about this? This is what I was telling you. If the derivative of denominator is there in the numerator, you can use the natural log thing. What is the natural log thing? I can write it down as plus natural log of this denominator, that is x plus 3. So this is going to be the answer and it is option C. So initially I was clueless. I did not know how to solve this question directly. But as soon as I was able to simplify the given function and write it this way, I was able to integrate it easily. So always remember, never ever start thinking about how to integrate it or stuff like that. Always go with simplifying the function initially because that is more important. Once you have a function in a simplified version, things would be easy. Then you would be able to think about the integration and do it directly, right? In case of any questions, any queries, just stop me right now. I'm there for you guys and I'll answer you here directly. Okay. Then we have the fourth question, and it is the integration of x cos x with respect to x. Now you have x and cos x and they're being multiplied. You need to integrate it, right? How do we integrate it? The integration is going to be by parts in this case. So what do? First function comes as it is. Integration of second one minus integration sign, integration of second one, derivative of the first one. I'll explain you, do not worry, okay? So imagine that you have two functions. I'll write this formula in a very easy way. U v with respect to dx. Now u and v are two functions which are being multiplied in terms of x, and you need to integrate it. First function would come as it is, and then you will write down the derivative of the second one minus integration sign, integration of the second one, and then the derivative of the first one with respect to x. This is how you integrate by parts, okay? This is a very different way of writing it down, but I am used to writing it down this way because this is the only way which makes sense to students. You have two functions, they are being multiplied. First comes as it is, integration of second, minus sign is coming always, then integration sign, integration of second one, like this thing would come here again, and then the derivative of the first one with respect to x. Now guys, I have a question for you. How do we choose which function is first and which function is negative? This is not happening on the basis of order, like if something is written first then it would be the first function. No, that is not the case. It is other way around. So I have a trick here. Okay, now in my case I have x and I have cos x. X is algebra, cos x is trigonometry. This is for algebra, this is for trigonometry. Since a is coming first, it means that x would be considered as the first function, cos would be considered as the second function. This I is for inverse, L is for log, A is for algebra, T is for trigonometry, and A is for exponential, right? Now I know x would be my first function, so I can write it again as x of cos x with respect to x, and first function as it is, x would come as it is, integration of cos x, integration of cos x is sin x, minus this thing is coming here inside again, sin x, and then the derivative of x would be 1. This is what you have, so it would give you x sin x minus the integration of sin is minus cos, so minus and minus would become plus, and this is what you are going to get. So the answer is going to be C in this case. Okay, all right. So this is how we are going to integrate this one. Okay, let's talk about the next question. Okay, now this is very, very interesting, and it says, sorry about it. Okay, now it says the degree of the differential equation. The question can be about the degree and the order of differential equation. Whenever the question is about order, you will talk about the highest order derivative. This is first order derivative, this is second order derivative, this is second order derivative. Because I have a 2 here, I have a 2 here, that is why this and this, they are second order derivatives. Whenever the question is about order, so in that case, I will be focusing on the highest order derivative. Whenever the question is about degree of a differential equation, I look at the highest degree of the highest order derivative. For example, what is degree in general? Degree of a quadratic equation is 2. Degree of a cubic equation is 3. So degree of a differential equation would be the highest power of the highest order derivative. What is the highest order derivative in this case? This or this? Both of them? So what is the power or what is the degree of the highest order derivative? It is 1 and 1 in both places. So this is the highest number. So the answer is going to be 1 in this case, right? It was a simple question. The only thing we had to understand was just this, that this is the degree of the differential equation. So in that case, we'll be focusing on the highest power of the highest order derivative. Okay, highest order derivative is not this, so 2 would not be the answer. Highest order derivative is this or that, so we will be focusing on this and this number. Both these numbers were same, so the answer would be 1. Otherwise you would have chosen the higher number. Okay, let's talk about the sixth question then. Okay. The solution of the differential equation dy by dx equals sine x by sine y is what? Now this is a differential equation and you need to solve it. So whenever you come across a differential equation, you'll be integrating it, and that would give you the simplified version. Okay, so I can write it as sine y can be taken here and dx can be taken here. Now I will integrate both sides. Sine y would become minus cos y. Sine x would become minus cos x plus c. Now, when you will integrate sine, you would get minus cos. That is the first important thing. The second important thing is some students might say, why didn't we add a constant for this one? So this is how it is. In case of differential equations, you will be integrating both sides, but you would be adding constant for one side only, right? So the constant would be added here. All right, okay. So this is what we need to understand over here. Okay, I'm sorry about it, guys. All right, so we were talking about the integration of this differential equation. So this is the answer. Now I cannot see. I let me just check if yeah I'm audible. Okay, I cannot find any answer of this type in the answer choices, so I need to think about it. Obviously, C and B are not the answers, and now I can write it as I can take this minus this c to the other side. It would become minus c equals cos y minus cos x. Now this is the most weird way of doing it, but I'm doing it this way because I need to match my answer choices. Now this is equal to, right? This is not minus c. I have minus c here, so always remember in integration, if you have minus c, if you have a plus b, if you have some constants which are being multiplied, added, subtracted, some constant is being multiplied with your constant, you will just write it down as c. Whatever happens, it would the constant itself would manage getting the correct answer. We don't write down a constant with minus c. We write it down with c, and if it has a minus sign, that sign would come automatically, right? So the answer is going to be D in this case. This can be written as cos y minus cos x equals c. This is what you need to understand. Okay, let's talk about the next one. Okay, this is the seventh question, and it says the slope of tangent to the curve y equals x squared minus 2x at 1, 1 is what? All right. Now, the question is about the slope of a curve whose equation is this at this point. Okay. So, in order to find the slope, what do we do? You need to differentiate it dy by dx. It would be 2x minus 2. You need to plug in the x coordinate to find the derivative, the slope, the gradient at this point specifically. So it would give you 2 minus 2. The answer is going to be 0. So it would be B. Okay, all right. Let's talk about the next question. Okay. Now the eighth question says the area bounded by the x-axis and the curve y equals 4x minus x squared is. Okay. Now you are interested in finding the area bounded by the x-axis and this curve. Whenever the question is about area, we are integrating. But for that, you can see all the options are some proper values. We are going to find the definite integral in this case. For that, we need the limits. Okay. So for those limits, I need to think about those limits. It says it is the area bounded by the x-axis and the curve. So I need to see at which points exactly this curve is cutting my x-axis. So I have y equals 4x minus x squared. I can write y equals 0 in order to see the values of x at x-axis, because at x-axis y is 0. So I can take x common and it would give me 4 minus x, and this would be x equals 0 and x equals 4. This is what I have. I'm going to integrate it from 0 to 4. The curve would be 4x minus x squared with respect to dx. It is going to give me 4x squared by 2 minus x cubed by 3. From 4 to 0, it would give me 4 multiplied by 4 squared by 2 minus 4 cubed by 3, and this part is not to be considered because when I will plug in 0 in x, it would give me 0. Now, please listen to me and pay attention at this point. You would be solving this question without calculator. So please be careful. Do not try cancelling out things. At times, cancelling out would help, but at times, cancelling out would make things more complicated. Okay. So now I can say that I have 4 cubed on both sides. So I can write it as 4 cubed by 2 minus 4 cubed by 3, and then I can do it this way. I can take the LCM, that would be 6. So this would become 3 into 4 cubed minus 2 into 4 cubed. I can take 4 cubed common and it would give me 3 minus 2 divided by 6, and it would give me 64 by 6. So it would be 3 times and it would be 32 times. I've divided both sides by 2, so the answer is going to be A in this case, right? This is how we solve questions without calculator. Alright, this was an easy question, but the concept was a bit tricky. The limits were not given, so first step was to find the limits using y equals 0. Once you had the limits, you had to integrate it simply, plug in the limits, and you had to simplify it. Just so you were able to find the answer without calculator, and it came out to be 32 by 3. Alright, okay. Yes. No questions so far. Please comment down in the comment box if you have any queries, any difficulties. I'll answer you there and then. Okay, let's talk about the ninth question then. It says, if f of x is this thing, then what is f of 3? So f of x is a function. You need to find the value of f of 3. And for that, you need to know the value of f of x first. Okay. Now, how do I know the value of f of x? F of x is given. F of x is the integration of that. So x squared would become x to the power 2 plus 1 divided by the new power, that is 3. And I need to plug in x and 0, and it would give me x cubed by 3. When I will plug in x, it would give me x cubed by 3. When I plug in it would give me 0. So I'm not plugging in 0. Now, f of x is x cubed by 3. So what is f of 3? For f of 3, I'll have to plug in 3 instead of x, and it would give me 3 cubed by 3. So this and this would be cancelled, and this is going to give me 9. So the answer is going to be A in this case. Okay. Now, again, this was an easy question, but it was a bit logical. At times, for some reason, when students find a question different, I don't know, they get anxious, and out of that anxiety, they end up making blunders, and you lose you lose marks for these simple questions, right? Please don't do that. All right, okay. So, yeah, no questions so far. Let's talk about the next question. Okay, now this is the 10th question, and it says the integration of cos x from pi by 2, from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Now you need to integrate cos x, and how do we integrate cos x? Okay, now for this, you need to understand one thing, that when you integrate cos of x, this is going to give you sine of x, and the limits are pi by 2 and minus pi by 2. So sine of pi by 2 minus, and then sine of minus pi by 2. So this would give you sine pi by 2. Obviously, calculator is not allowed. You're doing it on your own. By now, it should be on your fingertips. But just so things are clear, I'll tell you again and again. This is sine of x, and this is x. So sine of x is 1 at pi by 2 minus, this is the other side, this is minus pi by 2, and it would be minus 1 at this point. So it would be minus 1. So this is going to give you 2 as the answer. So it would be D. Also, guys, when you will integrate, integration is basically giving you the area. So the area cannot be negative. So at times, if you're getting any negative answer, just write down the positive version of it, because you can get negative because of multiple reasons. I won't be talking about that right now. But for example, if you integrate from pi to 2 pi, you will get negative answer for this because this area is under the line, right? But the area is positive. You're getting negative answer because of the integral, but logically speaking, the area is going to be positive, right? Okay. Let's talk about another question. Now, this is your 11th question, and it says you need to integrate 5 minus 2 power x with respect to x. How do we integrate it? Now we have two parts in this question. This is 5 and this is 2x, right? When you have 5, this is a constant. This would be separate, and 2 to the power x would be separate. We have two different functions. They are being subtracted. We will be integrating it separately. So the integral of 5 would be 5x. I have 5x in all the options. So just because of this 5x, I'm not able to cancel out any wrong answer or choose any right answer, right? It is there in every option. How do we integrate 2 power x? This is something we have discussed in the very beginning. So when you have a power x, you write it down as a power x divided by ln a. So if you have 2 power x, it would become 5 would become 5x minus sign would come as it is, and 2 power x would be 2 power x in the numerator divided by ln of 2. And obviously, since you do not have any limits here, so this would be an indefinite integral. So we need to add the constant. So the answer is going to be B in this case. All right, okay. So that is how we integrate. This time around, we had two different functions and they were being subtracted. So as per the rule, we had to integrate them separately, right? So the integration of 5 would be 5x. Using 5x, I was not able to find any answer. Otherwise, there would be times when you are able to find an answer on the basis of one part only, because you would be solving MCQs only. And then for 2x, we know whenever you have ax, you write down ax divided by ln of a. Obviously, ln of a and ln of a would not work because a is 2, so they need to write down 2 there. That was simple. This cannot be the answer directly because 2 power x, when you will integrate it, you would obviously get something different, right? So that is why we were able to cancel out these three, and then B was the answer. And if you think about it other way around, so when you integrate 2 power x, it would give you 2 power x divided by ln2, and the answer was B, right? So this way or the other, in case of MCQs, things are easy. Even if by looking at things carefully, even if you are good enough to cancel out the wrong options, still you can secure good marks. That might take more time, but this technique works in most of the questions, right? This is the best way of solving any MCQ exam. All right, okay, so this was the topic for integration. These were the questions which we have discussed today. In case of any queries, any difficulties, you can stop me right now. You can comment in the comment box. I'll explain you there and then, and we can talk about more contents if you want to. Okay. If you're interested in detailed course work and course contents, in that case, you can use the link in description to get yourselves enrolled for the live classes, and that is that those classes are starting on 1st June. So you can just use that link and they will be talking about detailed contents. We'll be covering more past paper questions. And yes, that is the idea. So this was the 17th chapter of integration, and I'll wait for a few seconds if we have some more questions. Okay, all right. So I suppose we have no questions. Okay, then that is it for today. Then I will see you next time. Take care, all of you, and Allah Hafiz.